Peace and blessings to the whole house, to the book people, those he called and surnamed as Israelites, and to the kingdom of the Israelites. Shalom, family. Peace and blessings to you. Hope you're having a fantastic and wonderful, great day today, as I am, as always. Thank the Father for everything that he's done for us and everything that he continues to do on our behalf. He's the one that's fighting this fight, and we're not fighting anything. We're just sitting back and watching everything that he said in his book unfold before our eyes. So I want to greet you all. I want to greet my sister, Sister Wise Society. Shalom, sis. How you doing today?
Shalom, brother. How you doing?
All is well on my side. Doing great.
Yeah,
awesome and excellent.
That's good. I've been getting my steps in. For those of you that calculate your steps, yesterday I got 20,000 steps in, so that's double my goal.
Wow.
Hey, 1 foot behind the other. I'll tell you, if you're into calculating your steps and you just want to change your habits, just put 1 foot in front of and the other behind in the other one until you get it. So I'm glad that I could calculate it on my phone and my watch and just stay, at it and be consistent. It was not easy at first because on average, people typically average about 3,000 to 5,000 steps a day, just so you know. And baseline for good heart health and good calorie burning is 10,000. Now, brother, see, on the app, I've seen people doing 1 million or more steps a month. My average is like 320,000 steps a month. Now, where are the people that are doing like 1 million or more steps a month, right? Because if you break it down, it's 30 days, 10,000 steps a day. You would think about 300,000 or a little bit more if you trying to be extra. But there are people doing millions of steps a month.
Well, then people probably don't have no life, or they probably rich. I want to say shalom, but I got something to say though about the step thing. Okay, so
okay.
I have my thing that measures steps. I put it in my pocket. It's the aura, so I put it in my pocket, and I was on my way back from the gym, and I forgot to put it on, and so I'm probably 3/4 of the way home, and then I said, "God dang it! I forgot to put my aura back on, so now I'm gonna miss my step count." So it's funny you with your stuff, because I'm like, dang, I messed up today, so I'm only gonna get half the count that I normally would get. I wish I could do 10,000 a day. On days I work out, I probably average about 8,000, something like that.
That's still good.
Indeed it is. I want to say shalom to the elder, Dr. Gary Christopher. Shalom to you, elder. Hope you're doing well. Hope the Father's been keeping you sane and at peace and in that warrior mode. Because I know if they say the fruit don't fall far from the tree, so I know your daughter has a warrior spirit, and so she couldn't have got that from nowhere else but you. So we acknowledge you, sir, and glad you could make it to the show. Now I want to jump in and just say this to the family. When you typically log on and listen to our shows, you will get information that's more than likely not being shared anywhere on the earth. And we got another banger like that today. There are things that happen on the earth, and you never say to yourself, where the hell did that come from? Who inspired that? Who signed off on that? Who made that to be so that could be in your frontal lobe? It's almost like the Israelites are in a constant psyop, and we don't have the keys to know that we're in a psyop. Now, I will say this: we're coming out of the hypnotrance of Christianity, the red, white, and blue, America as a nation, and it being our nation. No, the red, white, and blue America is not you, but this soil is definitely yours. That's without a doubt, because some of our people were here, and Dr. Christopher can testify to that. Christina can testify to that. I can testify to that. And you know that when you hear that you feel a certain way about here, and it's not the red, white, and blue way, but it's the way that, hey, you know what? If the book say every man go back to their own land, what does that mean? And then what does that mean for me? Right? So the information that's going to be shared today is like, man, have we researched and asked the question, where did this idea come from? Where did we get, when was that psyop pressed upon us? And it's typically something that's pressed upon humanity. It gets into your frontal lobe and you say, aha, but you have no idea where it came from. So having said that, sis, do you want to add before I let you take off on it?
I actually do. Because a lot of times, it's the uncomfortable thought or notion that we try to push away, and that's the one that we need to like really lean in on, right? Like we have to move away from the comfort of imaginations, if that makes sense.
Yes.
The fantasy type of thinking, right? Cast down imaginations, right? And every single thought that exalts itself from the knowledge, it's getting in the way of the knowledge. Remember, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. That you need to live. Hamashiach being the truth, the way, the life, right? And a lot of times we hear that, and you know what, Brother C, we're going to take it right back to stained glass. We imagine a vain thing. We imagine something that we were taught by Christendom. Vacation Bible School, right? I'm going to say it. Because some of y'all got your children in Vacation Bible School, and you wonder why they ain't really, able to see the forest from the trees. They needed to be in Taekwondo or Jiu-Jitsu at the rate that things are happening in society. That's where they needed to be.
Yes, I need to have my ass in there too.
Wait a minute, Brother C.
I need to have my ass in there too.
Listen,
point blank, I'm not lying.
You think that I'm walking 10,000 plus steps a day? Look, you like the gingerbread man. Run as fast as you can. You can't
catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. Oh man, you came with the only one goodies.
I came in hot today, so yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, if you were given the opportunity, if you put your child or grandchild in Vacation Bible School, we're gonna send the church bus. Don't worry, we're gonna provide them with the lunch. We're going to, give them everything they need, and then we'll drop them back off. And this will happen for a week or 2 weeks. That feels comfortable because then you don't have to worry about it for a week or 2 weeks. But what feels uncomfortable is, no, let me go over here and take them to the self-defense class every day, provide them with the lunch, and be there watching to make sure that they're getting all the moves down. Right?
Yes,
cast down imaginations. How are they going to protect themselves with Vacation Bible School?
This is what, look at what Dr. Christopher put up. And Doctor, you on point, sir, as usual, as per usual. Fruit don't fall far from the tree. It's our creative nature. Now, I will say this, and I've been saying this. I've been saying this since I've been on, and I'll be saying it when I sign off. There's no people on the earth more creative than our people. Our people are so creative, we get bored. That's why you have all the musical genres that you have. It's because our people will create a genre, master it, have it, then say, oh, I'm tired of this. I'm going to move on to something else. That's how come you got all these musical genres. There's not one musical genre on the earth that don't have our fingerprints on it. And you name it, we invented it. And then you name it, we invented it. It was spawned off of what? Our creative nature. So I'm gonna let that land, but I'm gonna go to the book.
Brother C, was you watching K-pop last night?
No, but K-pop, no, but K-pop told the truth. K-pop, they told the truth though. They said we got our inspiration from R&B.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a classic example right there.
Hi,
R&B.
Dad. I'm saying hi to my dad. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Hey,
no,
Dad.
that's fine.
Yeah.
You can shalom your father.
Yeah.
All reverence and respect to him.
Yep.
Um,
Created in his image
we'll
and
create
likeness.
it. We created in K-pop. The K-pop people said, "Hey, we didn't invent this. We got this from the African Americans, the
Yep.
so-called blacks in America. They're gonna recognize it. We got that from R&B. Now, what have we done? Look at let's take a look. Let's look at music for a second. We had our music all the way from, you can say, from the 1900s. I'll start there and work all the way through, right?
Right.
And you had your different genres that came up. You had your blues, we created that. Jazz,
Right.
we created that. And then you had the spinoffs from that. The blues and jazz created what you call rhythm and blues or R&B, and the Motown sound and all of that was spawned from that. And then from there you had the bands. How many bands do
Right.
you see now playing music? How many R&B groups where they got a rhythm section, they got a dance section, and they got a harmonic section, and then they got the lead, like the
Mm-hmm.
Jackson Five in them, or the Silvers, or Atlantic Star. I mean, the Gap Band. Those are more the new ones, but we can go back to the Delphonics. We can go back to gosh, my mind is slipping. But you got all those great, the Temptations, Diana Ross and the Supremes. Now, what we do is we'll create the great stuff, and then we'll say, okay, I'm bored. I want to move on to something else, and then we'll spawn a new one. So nobody on this planet can sell me that the people that are here, the Africa, and I'm not talking about the immigrants, which we're about to segue into that. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about those that was here and those that was brought over here, because both of those people, unbeknownst to themselves, are related. The ones that was dropped off on the ship was related to the ones that's already there, and you can prove that with the book, point blank. So now, before I let you take off, I got one more diatribe to jump into, and that's this precept I'm about to share. And I was thinking about this precept a couple of days ago, and I think about it all the time. But what's inspiring about it is that it kind of ties into what you've been saying all the time. So I'm just going to present my screen right quick, and we're going to touch on it, and then we're going to move off of it. Let's say window. Let's share that. Okay, so I'm going to read from the book of Daniel, chapter 12, and I'm going to read verses 12. I'm going to read just verse 4. Okay. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book. Even, what does it say? To the time of the end of white rule. Sorry for ad-libbing, Father. Apologies. Many shall go to and fro. And the big thing here, and knowledge shall increase. So, family, you have had an explosion of knowledge with this internet widget, and they've been and really they want to turn it off. They really want to turn it off on your ass.
Oh no, they
Because
already have laws in place. I'll talk about that. No, I'll let you guys know what they are and what to look for after my brother makes his point. But you are absolutely right. So we just connected the dots between why in the reparations articles we were looking at. Remember, we went through with the family here live some sessions ago.
Mhm.
They kept on putting about AI and different things, right?
Mhm.
So they're already putting laws into place to shut these platforms down in a major way.
Yeah, and y'all don't you see it coming. However, what they've done is, as soon as they open the knowledge of everything, because really the internet is they call it the internet of all things. You look up the acronym IoT, and then they've got some other IoTs that built in front of that. But Internet of all things. So Internet of all things just basically means knowledge of all things, except for the knowledge that they don't want you to have, like the knowledge that you used to have when you were Israelite, so that you can manipulate things, so that you can manipulate matter, manipulate people's thoughts. have people, if they wicked as hell, drive their car off the bridge, stuff like that. And I'm not saying that in jest. So they're going to, because Vatican Roma has all that information in the Vatican.
Yeah.
The fake Jews have some of it. The fake Americans have, the fake American patriots with their red, white, and blue BS have some of it. Even the Russians have some, and the Germans have. Or Europe has got little fragments of it, but the bulk of it, I believe, is in Vatican Roma. But really, the bulk of it, you know where really the bulk of it is in your DNA. That's where the bulk of this stuff is. It's already encoded in you. Now, because of Christianity, because of religion, because of society, they'll tell you that, hey, you know what? Your ability to understand astrology and understand the stars, that's satanic. Don't do that. All the while the Vatican and everybody else is using that to keep you in bondage. So don't believe they lies that they've been telling you. Yeah, the Delphonics. Yep, you're right about the Delphonics. They was tight too. So sis,
I got a question for the Christians, Brother C, while you talk.
Go ahead.
I got a question.
Fire away.
I want to know, and it's a simple question, right? I mean, we talking about knowledge increasing. You should be able to respond to this. If you're a Christian, you should be, or a Christian apologist, what they call, you should be able to defend your beliefs. Why are there thousands, we don't even have an accurate count, of denominations, but none of them agree 100% or get along?
That's something I will bring out all the time. You got 50,000 denomination of poison.
Right.
And you only got one book.
Now, if they all believe on the same God, the same Savior, Redeemer, and the same foundational doctrine, well, why don't they all get along? Why are there so many splits? Why so many denominations? Right?
Because it's false. Because it's false religion. Because you can't find it in the book nowhere. You cannot find Christianity in the book nowhere. When you read in the book of Acts, and I say this all the time, when you read in the book of Acts, they were first called Christians at Antioch. They were first called nigger at Antioch. You can replace that with that. How's that sound? How's that?
But do we forget the Shema? Right? And what I'm talking about is Deuteronomy 6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, he is one.
That's book.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't forgot. We're coming back to our knowledge, but the world thinks that they're right with they almost horse shit. With they horse shit Christianity. I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't give a damn. Listen, that's what it is. The Christianity has impacted their mind. Of course, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to have one God and so I don't, like I said, you said 50,000. I saw somebody say
50,000, 45,000, 55,000.
We don't even know.
I went to Wikipedia. It was 45,000 at one time, then it jumped to 50,000. And I even gave an example. You'll have somebody in a church, and it'll be a associate pastor or a small pastor, and he'll look at it and he'll say, you know what? He'll do one or two things. Dang, I don't like he getting all that money. I want to go fire up my own thing. Or he'll look and say, hey, I don't like how you taught that. I want to go do my own thing. Or he'll just say, look, hey, you know what? I'm being smothered here. I'm going to go fire up my own thing. And then you know what happens? He goes up and fire up a whole new denomination that ain't got to do with the book whatsoever. Because if you're a Christian, 9, 10 times out of 10, you're not keeping LSC because Christianity has told you LSC is done away with. So how is you going to be aligned with the Father if you're not doing his will?
I mean, if you think about it, the Seventh-day Adventists are vegans. They don't agree about meat, right? You have the evangelicals, which is the white evangelicals become a political body or army. So they're American nationalists first and Christians second. Right?
But stop. No. Before you go any further with that, on that point, no, because that's a fire drill for me. And that doesn't include you, Negro Christian, because they know and believe that you have a different God than their God. The God that conquered the snakes and conquered the rest of the world is not the same God of the Israelites, and they know that. Point
Oh yeah,
blank. Go ahead, sis.
yeah.
My bad.
Their white Jesus don't like black folks. Just so y'all know.
Man, stained glass gets busted. That was stained glass, beautiful stained glass mosaics need to get busted out all over the earth. When I become president, I'll mandate if you got a stained glass at your church, you better bust it out or you going to jail.
So that's why I put a definition in the chat, and I want people to understand that this is not something I made up, right? This is what we look at when we are talking in terms of social political entities or constructs. Then Christianity becomes Christendom. And you have to start thinking who stands to benefit the most from creating an entity or structure worldwide, such as Christendom, and who is losing, right? And when I talk about power, you have to ask the question, for whose benefit is that power had? At whose expense, right? Ask those questions, right? And so who is Christendom benefiting? And they have maintained the narrative, obviously, without even continuing to use the slave Bible, that we're still at the bottom of that totem pole of whatever mercy and grace that they believe that they're receiving from their God. So why does this worldwide construct of religious, cultural, and political influence continue to maintain? That's the only thing that the 34, 45, 50, however many denominations have in common is their, I would say, disdain for us. They can agree definition when it comes to oppressing us.
The name and the definition, the name is in the definition in the name. Check this out. Look at the name. It said Christendom. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what does that mean? Does that mean what it says in the last sentence? Christianity is dominant? So does it mean Christendom actually means Christian and the dom means domination? Am I reading this right or am I not reading?
Yeah, no, this is the official term.
Okay.
When referring to the system worldwide of Christianity.
Okay. So it's Christian domination then, because that's what the dom means to me. I mean,
listen, you seeing it for what it is.
I mean, it's right there in front of y'all. So it's right there in front of you. But again, once again, I'm gonna say this: the information that the sister be dropping and that you're getting on this channel, you're not seeing it anywhere else. I'm gonna go to Dr. Gary's his last quote, and then I'm gonna let you rock all the way out. Dr. Gary, this quote right here from Luke is one of the ones that's a paradox for most people's mind. Mm-hmm. And reason why I say that is because everybody thinks that the kingdom is they looking over here for the kingdom. They looking at Bangladesh. They looking at India. They looking under a rock in the United Snakes. They looking on top of a mountain in Shangri-La, which I do want to go to Shangri-La, but that's a different conversation. But they're looking at all these places instead of looking within themselves, because the books say the kingdom is within you. So if the kingdom is within you, what does that mean? And why is you looking elsewhere? Why? Point blank. So sis, I'm gonna get off.
Nah, brother, see, you can't. We're not letting you go to Shangri-La because you gonna drop too much intellectual property. So if you start talking,
I go to Shangri-La and said, Dr. Gary and Sister C said, don't say nothing.
Don't say a word.
Observe. Be a conscientious observer, not a conscientious objector. He's just here to observe.
Right. You know I mean? Don't say a word.
Full transparency, I want to go to places before I leave, and I don't want to remote view them. I want to actually physically go to them, like Antarctica, the South Pole, Shangri-La, what's that? The mountains in Tibet, because they're of interest, right? I even want to go to the places in South America where they're seeing. I even want to go into the caves underneath Egypt, just to be an observer, not to say nothing. Because as soon as we open our mouth, guess what? The world is like E.F. Hutton with y'all. Y'all haven't figured it out that y'all liquid money on the whole earth. Y'all have not figured that part out yet. As soon as you open your mouth, people are going to record. They're going to listen. And you know what? They're going to take notes. And then you know what they're going to do? Everything that you said, they're going to go and do it. Because every time you speak, there's IPs in there, all kinds. That's why we don't put out what we're doing on YouTube. We just do it, and maybe you'll see it or maybe you won't. But the bottom line is, no, we're not exposing what we're doing, because that would be foolish.
Yeah, no.
That would be absolutely nuts. But you do have to be careful. So I got the mandate from you that when I do go to these far off places, I can't say nothing. I have to be like a mute. Probably have to put tape on my head, around my head, million rolls of tape.
Matter of fact, I was reading an article about the Buddhist monks all having to go to rehab. They had to shut the temple down because they was they was tested positive for some type of drug. I believe it was LSD or methamphetamine. Right?
They're going to secret.
So they're using them to do some mind tapping that they believe, helps to take them to a place of I think, with LSD.
Exactly. MK Ultra type stuff, but kind of controlled, because they got the controlled substance and they know specifically which demons they're trying to get power from.
Right.
Basically.
Exactly.
That's the way I see that.
Right.
Because you can't be going on no trip talking about, okay, you're going to bring back all of this great wisdom and knowledge without some baggage, if I can say it that way.
Well, no, you need to understand that the territorial nature of demons and their influence, right? Before you go anywhere. This is a travel advisory from your sister Wise Society. Before you go from county to county, you need to understand that the demonic behaviors may change, right? This is why I appreciate our brother Enoch, because he showed how he dealt with the fallen. He wasn't afraid. He showed how he dealt with it, right? In the most eloquent way, I would put it, right? How he's dealing with these entities, not out of fear, but out of the power and authority granted to him by the Most High, same Most High that our likeness and image is in, right? And so why wouldn't we believe that we could learn from Enoch the way to deal with certain entities?
Because we don't believe the book, by and large.
But I remember
I'll put it succinctly. I don't believe the book.
You do
not believe the book by and large, because if I did, I wouldn't do some of the foolishness I do. But by and large, people say they believe. They acknowledge the Father with their mouth. Well, what does it say? The what is far from them? From him? You could say,
heart.
Hey, I believe their heart is far from him. And that's why Mashiach can say, hey, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. I never use. It's going to be a lot of questions that hear that cold phrase. That's a cold phrase.
At the end, I can't even imagine doing all this stuff. And in my mind, I'm believing that what I'm doing is the right thing. And then to find out, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. And the list was very simple. When I was thirsty, did you give me some water? I'm just going to paraphrase. When I was hungry, did you give me food? When I didn't have clothes, did you provide? Did you help? When I was locked up in that prison because the oppressors just didn't want my population to be free and didn't want the men to be free, especially to procreate, did you write? Did you see about me? Because
did you say something when you flooded my neighborhoods with all these drugs? Did you say anything when you separated the people that was here and the people that came over on boats? You separated them. You killed the men. You raped the women. You raped the children. You built what you would call hatcheries so that you can hatch or make other babies so that you can feed to alligators with alligator bait. Did you say anything or do anything about Devil's Punch Bowl where you killed 20,000 and it was the North that did it, not the South? America got a track record. Or what about Lake Lanier, where you stole black people's property and then flooded it out, and now when people go to that lake, they mysteriously die?
Speaking of that, and so as you do unto the least of these, my brethren, you do unto me, is what Hamashiach said, and he's relating himself related himself using terms of family terms like paternal terms, brethren. You done unto the least of these, my brethren, you have done unto me. Now, I have been noting a lot of media. Maybe it's just at a heightened point, but when you started speaking about the crocodiles and alligators and the, way that they had did our babies, using them as gator bait, I started thinking about these recent drownings. Right? Are they trying to evoke the same thing that they were trying to evoke the swamp lake gods that they believe in, to try to evoke those water spirits that they believe in, right? Is that really what we're watching? Because it's a ritual for sure. And we don't know, but we need to really be able to spiritually discern things instead of listening to the mainstream narratives about what's going on, because we wrestle not against flesh and blood, even though we do wrestle with, what appears to be flesh and blood. And so I was thinking about the rapid growth of these deaths by drowning of our boys, okay, in bodies of water. And it made me really think about the gator bait from back when, right? So I don't know if they're connected or correlate. I just saw that in my mind's eye, and I continue to just say, like, this is a ritual.
Well, it's a perfect segue to what you're about to hit next. But it's one of those things where you have to ask yourself the question: well, where did this type of thing actually come from? Was this something that they brought over from Europe, or was this a wicked device that they crafted just for this specific people?
It's probably both, right?
Okay.
They brought their practices with them, and whoever they need to craft them for, they are going to. But obviously, it's going to be us. I mean, these are pagans, right? Pagans. They had those ritualistic practices to begin with. That's just in their nature. That's who they are, right? And so the sun is tearing them up, though. I'll tell you that. Look, I got joy in my heart.
So I'll be walking around smiling in the sun and be raising my face up to the sun. And I see him in cars driving by. I bet they'd probably be saying, "What is that nigger doing?" Well, he's enjoying the sun too. Don't you wish you could?
Right. And I was. This is like going to be my last point before we move on to the document. But I have put a post out on Facebook talking about the laws, policies, and codes that the United States created to have a racial category or demographic. And if I started getting the riffraff in my comments. You already know. Okay. And this one guy says, well, we built it. We designed it. You can go back to Africa. So, I'm looking at that. Brother, see, I'm about to tear him up, right? Excited.
Oh, he opened up the door, whoop ass. He opened up his own can. He purchased a can of whoop ass for free. Go ahead.
So, first of all, I told him, if you designed, built it, and did all of these wonderful things, let me see you do it again. 10 to 12 hours in the sun. I'll wait. Better yet, your business is between the Black and Caspian Sea. If anybody don't know what's between the Black and Caspian Sea, it's the Caucasus Mountains. Okay. Your business is between the Black and Caspian Sea. Go ahead. You got to get there by boat. I hope you have the travels you deserve. Okay. Now, I don't even know if they're going to make it on the boat because it's too hot in the sun to tear them up.
Nope.
So then you have to question how the inorganic got upon the earth with the organic. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yes, ma'am.
But in their minds, they believe the narrative and the lie and in the vain imagination that they built everything, designed it, and owe us nothing. And that's why we have these reparations talk on the Descendants Weekly, talking about reparations and what does it actually mean to have a legal remedy, right? Not just saying, hey, hand me, 50 coins in a piece of land, no. we need to look at that legal remedy being congruent with the harm, injury, and the duration of harm and injury that those that we experienced and have never been compensated, and the wealth that was built. But just know that when you're talking about these legal remedies, the lawless people don't care. Okay, so I want you guys to center yourself around that when you are bringing out the very thing that is a tool or instrument to set things right and in order and to make it just. Don't expect the lawless people to care. Just don't. Put your statements out. If that's what you want to do, leave it there. Don't argue with them, because it's like arguing with a fool. And so he tried to go back and forth. I didn't say another word because he feels some kind of way about the truth, and that's not my problem. There's no way that they can have this narrative of building America, designing and crafting America, if they can't even labor in the sun for a whole day. Make it make sense. Okay? I want to know, how is it physically possible? And once we get past the physiology of it all, I want to know if it's intellectually possible, if you're constantly robbing, stealing, and I'll say that, the intellectual property of others. Where are the designs? Show me. And who did you get them from? And so they can't answer those hard questions. They'll become upset instead of facing the truth and the reality. Some will accept the truth, but not all. And so I just wanted to, we talked about last time how you dealt with the commenter in your chat feed. And I want you guys to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves when you are responding to these entities. Don't let them consume your energy. And we'll leave it at that.
That's important. And hopefully the family takes heed to that and listens to that. That's very wise counsel. So we're going to jump into this document, sis. And yep. I'm going to let you take off on this, if you don't mind. Let me quit jiggling wires on myself.
It's all good.
Yeah, that's it right there. I got the right share. Let me know if you can see my screen. Fam, put a one up if you can see the screen right quick. If you don't mind indulging your brother, see?
Yeah, put a one up.
Let's put a one up if you can see the screen, please. Just to make sure that I'm doing it right. Because y'all know I'll be jiggling wires on myself. And look, I'm going to take us off the screen. Is that okay, sis?
Yep. I see that we have viewers, but we need people to engage so that we can know if you see the screen. Because I'll start talking and won't even know if you can see it.
I could see it, so let's go ahead and rock out.
Can you see it on the light? Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm going to bring you right back every time because I want you guys to understand how to navigate the codes that they are trying to utilize to bind you, right? And we talked about how the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is voluntary. It's not enforceable. There isn't a UN army or military per se that's going to go out and compel or force through, military force countries to comply with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which everything stems from as far as UN work, right? They have the Declaration of Human Rights, like the U.S. Constitution, but the U.S. Constitution is even more legally enforceable than the UN Declaration of Human Rights. So while we know that we're born free and should die free, that's a natural or fundamental human right, right? Along with others, the ability or freedom to procreate, right? To have certain types of environments, not flooded with a whole bunch of biochemical warfare byproducts, right? People start talking about data centers, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go into that. I'm just talking about human rights. So I want you to be knowing that when you hear people saying they violated my human rights, they violated my rights, you have to then begin to say, well, how does the state or the violator see that? Because in the country of the state's mind, they didn't violate anything. Why? Because it's voluntary on the code. So they see what's codified, right? We see the human side or the human cost of things as we experience life. But the rulers are basing things off of what is enforceable, what's in the code, what can they be held liable for, right? And they're going to push that to the boundary, and including torturing people. Okay, that's supposed to be against the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. But we know that governments torture people consistently, whether that be psychological torture, physical torture, CIA torture, if you're thinking about the US, destruction of the documents and evidence if they did that. And so do you think that those people that they tortured didn't believe in human rights? Yeah, but who was going to come in and save them? The United States, along with every other country that is a party to the UN, has to volunteer to accept and agree the human rights declarations, treaties, acts, etc. And you can tell by the ones that have and haven't on certain treaties where their belief system is, where their moral compass is. And so that's why I bring up this United Nations website, because I want you to know where these documents are housed. For one, it's something that people are not showing you. They like talking about stuff without data and facts. We have to be fact-finding individuals. Okay. Right here, you can see this is the United Nations Digital Library. I've spent a lot of time in the digital library of the United Nations, just reading through treaties, articles, documents, resolutions. All right. This one in particular was a document that is now being called a scenario. We know how that works. At the time, it was a document that was taken seriously. Now it's being called a scenario. Okay. And it's on replacement migration. Is it a solution to declining and aging populations? Now, I know you guys hear about replacement theory, replacement, migration or replacement populations because people are dying or aging or not having children, and the population, certain populations are dying off. This is what is talked about. But this also being developed in 2000 shows you how long this is being talked about. You see the year at the bottom. This is a document from the year 2000. It's not a new subject. But as time goes on, the paranoia, the fear drives in. If you were facing extinction, I'm just going to call it that, genetic annihilation, and all of the data points to that in these studies that they continue to reproduce about, dying populations, aging populations beyond the replacement rate. You hear those terms all the time. What would your behavior look like? Okay. If this was constantly in your face and you see it happening, low fertility rates. Okay. So in 2000, you have this quote unquote scenario. If you could go down, I'll show you what they looked at. Here's the summary. Okay. The United Nations projections indicate that over the next 50 years, so if you think about that, that was 2000, and now we're in 2026. So we're over the halfway point of the 50-year projection. Okay. The populations of virtually all countries of Europe, as well as Japan, will face population decline and population aging. The new challenges of declining and aging populations will require comprehensive reassessment of many established policies and programs, including those related to international migration. What is international migration? The movement patterns, right? It's where immigrant you hear often. International migration. Sometimes the Census Bureau of the U.S. Puts out documents about domestic migration. They're looking at how people move around the United States from state to state. Okay. And so these policies and programs established with regards to international migration, focusing on these two striking and critical population trends. The report considers replacement migration for 8 low fertility countries: France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Russian Federation, the United Kingdom, and United States, and 2 regions, Europe and the European Union. So, I mean, you might as well say the EU. That's all of them.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
hold on. I highlighted United Snakes for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've been stuck on 13% for the last millennia, and I know that there's more of us here in the United Snakes.
Absolutely.
Number one. But point number two, when they say that declining birth rate and aging, they're not talking about the book people that's
Nope.
here. They're talking about the European. So they should have made this, and the European in the UK, because you got Negroes, or you got our people in the UK now too, or you got Africans there too, a bunch of Africans, based on this whole plan that you're breaking down, is in the UK now. So when they say the United States, they should say the European portion of the United States. Am I reading that right or wrong?
Yeah, you're reading it right, because you have to, this is a thing that is a point that needs to be made, right? Disaggregate the data if you can, right? What populations are they talking about demographically, meaning race and ethnicity? How much time are they projecting? Because they can look at birth rates, aging population rates, and death rates to come up with these numbers. Okay. They have been, I don't know if you guys have noticed lately, really talking about low fertility rates. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about it just based on the U.S. Propaganda alone. The United States in the recent year and a half have been talking a lot about why there's been a decline in teenage pregnancy, as if now it's a problem. Have you guys heard that or noticed that? They've been bringing out this data about low rates of teenage pregnancy as if it's a problem now. Because maybe what they realized was that they shouldn't have, put the cart before the horse. The low fertility rates are not changing. The birth rates are not increasing. And we're talking about certain populations. And this is not a new problem. If you read through some of the past presidents who signed land settlement acts for Europeans, they put in the condition or the term that they would have 2 or more children in order to keep the land, trying to grow the population, trying to stimulate that growth. And so when you see certain policies, they're attempting to try to incentivize population growth. That's part of what is discussed in this replacement migration document. How can we provide policies, land grants, a year of paid, whatever it is, income, whatever it may be, social welfare products, food stamps, welfare, They're looking at how to grant the dying populations social welfare products to incentivize and reward baby making. How about that? Because what else can you do? So this document that you see that is quote unquote a scenario is actually a policy and a program that is in place, and you can see the way that different countries are utilizing this information to try and spark population growth, but it hasn't worked, and they're in year 26 of the projection. So my question is, again, if you're the dying, aging population beyond the replacement rate, which means the future generations are not going to be able to grow to increase your population, so ultimately there is a thought about die off. If you're that people group, if you're that population that is facing annihilation, what would your behavior look like?
It looked like how these people acting right now, because you got two layers of it. You got the layer of their Christendom, which is Christendom, and then you got the layer of them enacting laws because they've known this. Now, it seems like they'd like to play tricks even on their own people.
Of course,
because they'll come with this, but then people will take it as a psyop, and then they'll run the game. Oh, you can't replace us. You can't replace us. Well, the Negro ain't trying to replace you. The Negro just want to get what's rightfully his, not no goddamn equality. The Negro want what's rightfully his. There's a big difference.
And while you're talking about what's rightfully ours, let's talk about how this replacement migration also plays another role. Because what they begin to discuss in the document, it is 143 pages. If you guys want to read it, you can go and read it on your own. You can download it, or it's down at the bottom. You can read it online on this digital library. They start to begin to then say, well, how many immigrants do we need to bring into our country to offset population decline, shrinking workforces, and low fertility rates? I want you to think about that again. How then do we incentivize and reward immigration to our country to offset the number of population decline, shrinking workforces, and low fertility rates? Because a shrinking workforce is a definite sign of a collapse of a nation. If you don't have the labor and the production from it, you're going to lose your economic standing. Well, we also look at it as GDP, right? And so what they started to talk about, well, let's look at some of the populations in other countries that haven't declined, right? Did you think they're going to look to the Americas for that? Where would you guess that they would look to find non-shrinking populations, Brother C?
They would look to what is known as Akibu land would be one place. They would probably look to India.
Precisely.
And then maybe even China. They look where you have growing populations, and I believe the youngest had the explosion of population growth, which is why they're fomenting wars there now, is Africa.
Absolutely. And so they incentivize them to come to their countries and, help with the workforce, the low fertility rates or reproduction. So we see this agenda where a lot of people call it a mixed race agenda. You see commercials and everything glorifying that, right? And this didn't just start, but I want you guys to see the official policy behind it. And then the government will turn around and say, no, we didn't do that. That was just a scenario we ran.
Yeah. Like for instance, you see the European nations now, they up in arms because they got so many immigrants there, right?
Exactly. They're the ones that incentivized them to come, offered them 10 times what they would ever offer you as a native Black American, Black American here, born here, from here, ancestors here for however many years. And they'll say, come get this free housing. Come and get these social welfare programs. We're also going to put you in a top position. You know, if you are academically a student, make sure you have an education. We're going to pay for everything. And then we're going to add on that extra however much allotment annually, because we have to do this for a declining population.
Yeah, but that's a psyop against their own people that are there. And then their own people that are there are wondering, well, why did you let these immigrants in the first place? Now we understand why. But another question I have on top of that is, do these immigrants, are they going to have to fight or be looking to fight in these future wars that Europe is about to get themselves into with Russia?
Yeah, because, I mean, if you are incentivized by the government to do a thing, you can also then rely on the government to invoke you to do a thing, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a double, triple psyop now.
Listen, they own you at that point, okay?
Yeah.
So we brought you over here and you ain't doing what we wanted you to do.
Right.
Okay. Or you see this thing, well, with this replacement migration document,
just call it for what it is. Let's stop using that high tech term. Let's use the term that everybody uses, replacement theory. Can we use that?
Well, yeah. I mean, it has been used, but it's also been misused in the way of some
white
of
nationalists,
the white nationalists, right? Trump. But also some of the white nationalists are telling the truth, and they're showing you their fear facing the annihilation, right? Facing what they believe as extinction, what they call the great replacement theory, right? So now all of a sudden, because of the fear of the annihilation and extinction and the facts and the data being revealed here way back in 2000, and I bet you ain't nobody bringing this to show you what it is. They're not showing you that they were talking about this for a while now and what they did to try to offset it by bringing immigrants in. They're going to show you that immigrants just came over and they're taking up everything. Yeah, but how did the government incentivize, reward, and contribute to that, right? Because they thought that they weren't going to be able to, that they were all dying off, which is probably true too. So yeah, we're going to call it what it is, definitely. But I want people to know that this is the driving factor of that fear.
You guys should download this document. It's 177 pages. It's a medium to extended size read. I'll say 177 pages. Some of us are used to Little Red Hen. And what's the book you brought up? The Gingerbread Man.
Don't be reading Dr. Seuss.
Do you read Dr. Seuss? My favorite book is The Little Red Hen. The Little Red Hen is the most powerful book on the planet. I don't care what nobody say. Is in some cases, it's even more powerful than line upon line, precept on precept, because it's based on line upon line, precept on precept.
So what it is too, you can put this in a online text to speech reader, right? And let it read it to you. When you look at laws, policies, and codes, you are gonna see the writing is small. It is small. It's not gonna be large. You can make it bigger, but your eyes may grow tired because there is a lot of small. But you look at right here, you'll see how the chapters are broken down. Potential. I want to go back, Brother C. Potential support ratio. Look at that on the tables, right? The tables. Okay, you see those tables? I mean, they're telling you what it is. By country or region. Okay. Total population by country or region. Net number of migrants by scenario and country or region. Now, do you put scenarios out that you don't plan on illustrating, or at some point? I don't even know how to say that, Brother C.
They plan on not even being there by 2050. And they say that, what was the number that they had that they put out there? They said that blacks wasn't going to have no money. And I'm talking about blacks here in the United States. Was going to have zero wealth. It's either, I'm going to quote two numbers because I forget. Please forgive me. It was either 2030 or by 2050, blacks would have zero wealth. in the United States. That's a lie from the pit of hell. You craft that scenario, and then you better ask your AI. Better ask your AI the truth, because you crafting us what you call a scenario for our people. It's not gonna work. Go ahead.
It backfired on them if they said by 2050 or 2036, because look at what started happening. Okay.
Yep.
Now, if you can keep scrolling down, and I'm sure some of those tables or charts will be there. But as you can see, you can tell by the countries listed, the people groups involved. Now, what if you see the Russian Federation on here? Okay. Then you start to think about its current relationships and its position about, I would say, Black peoples. Probably not the ones that, are us and they're inside of Russia, but maybe Africa, its relationship with Africa. Mm-hmm. Now, do you see why?
Yeah,
you begin to see why they've established these geopolitical relationships.
Hold on, though. And it makes sense, because so when I see them wanting to do migration out, typically what I would think of is, so you want to migrate out so you can weaken within and make within weak, so that you can constantly control within, right? So case in point, if you weaken Yemen and have people migrating from Yemen, for example, because Yemen, I think, is self-contained now, and they lobbing ballistic missiles at whoever they want to lob them at. They're mini Iran, but I digress. So if you're looking at the Russian Federation, this is a little bit curious also. Is this related to why they released the icons?
Well, it's related to a lot of the behavior, that you see right now, right? Mm-hmm. The wars and rumors of wars, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they're not saying that the reason that we're gonna attack, steal, kill, destroy is because we've already projected this so many ways, and we're still facing annihilation.
Did they ask AI though? Did they ask AI before they did this, or they already had?
They probably did, but you know who used to talk about this all the time? Who used to talk about this all the time? If anybody wants to really think about the person that talked about this the most and was before her time was Frances Cress Welsing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And people probably thought she was, out of her mind. But that's usually what they think about pioneers, because we're ahead of our time and people don't want to really heed to what we're saying because they don't see the vision the same way. She said that their biggest fear is genetic annihilation. Mm-hmm. And this is why you see the behaviors. Mm-hmm. And this is
she write the ice papers, right? Is that out the ice papers?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. So I want to go down and see if we can look at maybe a chart or two, and then
I want to go look at you. Do you know what I kept highlighting first? I'm always concerned about what's going on in the snakes. The snakes. Oh, you grow the vipers. The snakes are so wicked, and they think they're so morally correct and so morally the right. Meanwhile, they're getting their ass whooped over there in Iran. Meanwhile,
definitely. Let's look at it. And you see, they got it now. They probably did use AI. That's right. And now they want to get rid of it, right?
Yeah. Well, getting rid of technology is too late now. But I tell you what, though, they don't want people that look like me and you using technology, because technology is it decentralizes a lot of thought and a lot of the way that they used to do things, right? And it takes the control mechanisms out of their hand, so to speak. Because if you don't need them, if you don't need to go to them to ask a question, right? Because a lot of your technology comes from really just asking a bunch of questions, right? And then you get refined in your question asking. Now, if you were to go to someone who has all the information, they wouldn't tell it to you. They wouldn't tell it to you. They might sell it to you.
Go up a little bit. Let's see what the summary says for the United States before the table. All right, let's see here. And they're going to tell you what each scenario is, right? So the total fertility rate in the United States dropped from 3.45 births per woman in 1950 to 1955 to 2 in the 70s through 75.
Hold on a second now. Who is they talking about? They can't be talking about the book, people, because my dad by himself had 23 children.
Listen, I ain't gonna
They
bust my
can't be
daddy
talking
out. I'll
about
let him
us.
put how many kids he
Well,
got. in the chat.
I'm not talking about you, Mr. Dr. Christopher. I didn't mention your name. I said my
No,
father. My daddy.
no.
I'm sorry, not my father.
My dad has 7 children, beautiful children, and we're glad. So, like, we had big families, right?
Yes. Yes.
I have 4 children and 7 grandchildren, and I'm never gonna, ashamed to say I'm 48 years old, right? And I look around, and when I see this kind of data, I'm thinking the same thing as you, brother. See, like, who is you talking about,
man? And then okay, so this is the thing that makes me angry, but it doesn't now because I've gotten a little bit older. But it's an irritant, right? It's like a fly or a gnat. We've been stuck on 13% for how many decades now? And
That's
you
a
mean
lie.
we moved past that needle for since you had incubators where you would incubate us and had breeding clinics and breeding factories because we were a commodity just like hogs.
Are you talking about Cabbage Patch Kids?
Yes.
You know what?
Listen,
they gonna start jiggling wires if we bring up orphan trains and Cabbage Patch Kids, brother.
Hey, listen. And see, this is why this place is so wicked, because they done did everything imaginable to the people that was here, the people that was brought over. I'll make that distinction all the time on purpose. Pharaoh tried to wipe you off the face of the earth, and you're still here and you still multiply. You got to be the people of the book just on that, because there's no other people on this earth that could have went through what we went through here in the United States, and that we still it's still some of us brothers and sisters getting drowned and getting hung, getting beaten by the police, getting caught up in sundown towns, which all praise to the Father when He destroyed them, and He's been destroying a lot of them recently, if you haven't noticed.
Oh no, I mean that when we talked about that 20,000 plus death in Europe.
Yes.
Because of the heat wave, I was like, oh, okay, I see you.
Yeah, somebody pronounced something.
Now, you see where it says that the period of the late 70s and early 80s when it hovered around 1.8. So you see the United States initially calculated 3.45 births per woman in 1950 to 1955, and then 30 years later, it started to hover around 1.8. Now, I have a question, and it may offend some, but I don't care. How do white women in the United States in particular, who are the descendants of slave owners, expect their bodies to encode procreation when they weren't willing to care for their young and breastfeed their young when back in the times of making the mammies do it, right? Like, just you have to think about the physiological components of what you did to yourself at some point, right? If you are having a child and you refuse to feed and nurture that child, don't you think your body's gonna if it's an intelligent design, say, you know what, then you don't need no more. You don't need no more, and that becomes encoded in your DNA, like they try to say that trauma is in ours from epigenetics.
Yes.
Okay, so we have to look at the opposite side of that coin. Okay, what's happening to them because of epigenetics? So when people start to project attempt to project certain realities and curses upon us, we can see how they flip and hit them instead. And I cast it back to sender anyway, right? You're not talking about me and my people, and we can clearly see what you're afraid of. That's why I'm bringing it out. See, this information right here is smoking out the beehive, the wasp's nest.
I saw that picture earlier. I saw that.
Yeah. And
don't think I know me watching. I see you.
Yeah, we smoking out the wasp nest right now because this information for life expectancy, fertility is the internal struggle that increases their fear of annihilation. Francis was right.
Yes.
Okay. And so You see the total fertility rate has continued to be around 2 children per woman. Life expectancy at birth, meanwhile, has risen from 69 years in the 1950 to 55 to 75.7 years in 1990 to 1995. As a consequence of these changes, the proportion of the population aged 65 or older has risen from 8.3% in 1950 to 12.5% in 1995. And the potential support ratio has declined, meaning the workforce, the labor force, the ability to pay Social Security. Where do you think they get their economic policy from and ages, right? Mm-hmm. This is not just the scenario. It's a mathematic formula. It's a calculation that is used by our government. So you saw back in, I can't remember the date, but it used to be 60 or 60 younger that you could get your Social Security benefits that you paid into, and then they kept moving the goalpost. Mm-hmm. This is part of the reason why, because you have an aging population with no one to replace the workforce, right? So when you think about even like terms like the baby boomers, why is that terminology used? What years are they talking about? And you see that listed here in the quote unquote UN scenario. Okay. And you see, and the potential support ratio declined from 7.8 in 1950 to 5.2 in 1995. As a point of comparison, the potential support ratio was 15 in 1990 when 4% of the population aged 65 years or older. So the population used to be younger at some point, of the larger part of the population, but that size particular generation grew older, right? And the next generations weren't reproducing as much. And so as you can see, the scenarios are going to be explained. And then it says, look, by 2050, look at the scenario paragraph right in the middle, it starts saying, accordingly, the total population of the United States is projected to increase continuously from 267 million in 1995 to 349 million in 2050. The results of the 1998 United Nations projections are shown in the table. By 2050, out of this total population of 349 million, 59 million or 16.8% would be post-1995 immigrants or their descendants. The population aged 15 through 64 will increase slowly from 174 million to 214 million in 2050, although not in a monotonic fashion. The population that they're talking about is how they're looking at how to increase the population by immigration policies. Okay. And then you wonder why there are immigrant rewards and incentives that the people that have been born and their ancestors were born and labored for are not receiving. They're in all of these scenarios. I want you to just start thinking about that, right? The fact that, my parents may have a hard time after they worked and labored to get their Social Security, retirement, and get asked all these questions and have to fill out all this stuff. And the immigrants and their descendants are incentivized through Social Security acts, social welfare programs, right?
Here's the question I asked you earlier, and I'm gonna ask it now because you
go ahead and go down to the chart.
So
you can go to the chart, Brother C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, no, I wasn't necessarily wanting to go to the chart. I was wanting to. Okay. I had a thought, and you know what happens? Sometimes you have a thought, it goes away, so it probably wasn't too pertinent.
So, yeah, no, you said you had a question you wanted to ask me earlier, and then I didn't hear you, and so that's
it was something that you and I discussed in the backstage. Oh yeah, there it is. It came back. Thank you. So if all of this stuff is enacted from policies that come from the UN, but in reality the UN has no power, how is it that the UN is able to push and enact all of these things when they're virtually powerless?
Well, if a country, I mean, opts in through a treaty or an act and agrees with the UN that this is the thing that they're going to mutually agree upon, right? It's like when the Watcher said, let us mutually agree to do this thing, right? That's what they've done. They have mutually agreed, come to the
Why is that so
table.
funny to you every time we discuss that?
No, because
I'm not going to air you out. That's an inside show. We not put that out there on YouTube. Keep going, sis. I'm glad I made you laugh. Keep going.
I'm laughing because it compares me so much to the conversation of the Watchers, the fallen ones, right? It's funny to me too, because I think of it as like the Watchers were sitting in perfection and fell out of heaven over women that were comely and beautiful. And who were those women? Right. So
that's why you laugh, because them sisters was bad. And mind you, hey, disclaimer: there's beautiful women in every race on the globe, but the sisters hit different. I'm sorry. Keep going, sis.
Hey, we made the Watchers fall out of heaven.
Man, made them. Watchers got smitten with y'all. And see, where have you heard this at on the YouTube? Where have you seen? You find me a channel where they talked about the Watchers, and the Watchers said, "Hey, them sisters look good. We need to go holler at them." Watchers are entity talking about hollering at a sister, and then them same Watchers asking another human, "Hey, can you talk to the Father about what we done messed up down here?"
Yeah. Ask Enoch, can you draft a petition and read it to the Father for us? Yeah. And what were they pleading for? But listen to what they were pleading for. They were pleading on behalf of their Nephilim children. Right? They wanted their children to live forever.
Man.
Okay. So if you think of the fact that the Watchers are bound to within the earthly realm, they cannot activate anything in the heavenly realm. That's where their binding is, in the earthly realm.
Got they silly ass locked out.
Right. And the fact that they have not been eternally judged, their pleadings are on behalf of their children. Okay. I want y'all to just think about that. I don't know how you're going to receive it, but that's what they were pleading for. They wanted their children to be able to live amongst organic beings without consequence and until the end of the time.
Now let me ask you another question. Now, since we're looking at this chart and we're talking about immigration, I want to focus on the snakes right now. So the snakes have been immigrating people from South America for free, and they've been somewhat immigrating Africans from war-torn places, people from the Caribbean and whatnot. They're here now. Because I always wondered why there was a lot of Africans here. And if you watch sports, you'll notice a paradigm shift in that professional sports, football and basketball will have a lot of Africans playing now. But those Africans, by and large, grew up here in the snakes, right? So you've had this mandate because they're dying out. But then at the same time, Trump enacts ICE, and he want to kick everybody out, save us and them. So are they infighting against themselves? Are they infighting against the policies that they enacted? Because it seems like I've noticed this for the last decade now, that there's been, at least the last decade, there's been infighting amongst themselves. And now it start playing out through the Republican Democrat thing, and you start to see that happen. But then it start playing out even further, where you got MAGA on MAGA crime, right? So there's fractures going on and ruptures and fissures exploding all over the map when it comes to these particular warlike people, because the Father calls them warlike. So I'm wondering, what is really going on here? Because they were supposed to be following these mandates to keep the population up, but now they want to kick everybody hell out. I'll let you expound.
So if you look at what did the United States set off, okay, so when the United States, under the Trump administration started their closing the borders, what I'll call closing the windows and the doors, right? Like, we're going to close the windows and the doors. What was the reaction of other countries? Other countries said, well, fine, we're going to kick your people out. Okay. We're going to do the same thing. It was like, you could tell that there was a violation of an unspoken agreement. And so, you know what, U.S., no problem. Come get your Black Americans that, try to have a Pan-Africanist agenda from up out of here. As a matter of fact, I believe that they're still having a fight in Ghana over some of the Africans that had went there for, I think, protection from another part of Africa. You start seeing Mexico say, okay, not a problem. We'll take our people back. But you know what? You better get your people. Okay. Everybody started closing their windows and doors. So you could see the terms of the scenario, a breach in the scenario, what caused that. It was a domino effect. Now, I believe that, because the world is a stage, some of these things are done to excite a certain population that believes that they're powerful. It's almost like theater to me. I call it that. Like, we're watching the Greek Colosseum, because they know that their populations are beyond their replacement rate, and they needed those migrant populations to coexist so that they could exist.
I need to interrupt you. Because when I'm on people chat, I call it theater. I call it kabuki theater, because that's exactly what it is. A bunch of horseshit.
And so this document in particular points to Nigeria when we're talking about, those other populations that they researched and ran in the scenario. And that they mentioned that Nigerian migrants are disproportionately important within the highly educated Black immigrant population used to demonstrate, different things, especially because their birth rates from Nigeria and Ghana have not decreased, they've increased. Okay. And so I want you to think about how they have propped those people groups and those places up in a way and in different countries. So when you see this FBA argument, it's not off. I'm just pointing you to the data that helps you strengthen your argument against it, because they prop them up in ways that then they begin to look down upon the Aboriginal or Native Blacks of that land, the ones that were actually scattered, and have been there waiting for justice. And it's not serving justice when you see them doing this. It's on purpose. It's devices. It's on purpose. Okay, it's on purpose. So I hope I answered your question, Brother C.
Yeah, you did, and you tied in the FBA hook on what FBA is going through currently when you talk about the diaspora wars and the delineation, because somebody sent out a memo to the book people that are here, and it said to close ranks and to start shutting everybody down and to start looking to yourselves and building to yourselves, and stop praying for this nation. Pray for yourselves. Stop forgiving this nation. Forgive yourself. And so you're becoming more self-aware, more aware of who you are, even though you might be a Christian, even though you might be an atheist or a Pan-Africanist. The memo went out. The boycott, the wealth transfer from the Asians who disrespected us and been disrespecting us since time immemorial. Well, we like, okay, well, I can't eat Chinese food now or Asian food now, wherever it may be, Thai food. I guess what I got to do now, I either got to go to one of my family members that make it, or go to Google, get the recipe, then go to Sprouts or Traders, get the goods, and make it myself. And that's what I've been doing. Because I do like Asian food, but I don't eat meat. I'm not a meaty. I'm not a carnivore. But their vegetable dishes is tight. I like doing stuff with tofu, fried tofu. I love that. But this is all part of that same thing, sis. Go ahead, bring it out.
And so this is why I said, like, the UN looks at Nigeria as a significant, or the parties to it, as a significant source of global labor supply due to its high fertility rates and rapid population growth, rather than as a nation requiring replacement migration. Okay, so I want you just to think about that. This is the way that they view it, as a resource. Mm-hmm. And we have to get in our minds that when, the United States or the European Union say they're favoring the Nigerians because of this reason, they, in a sense, codify the incentives and rewards that then the Nigerians internalize, mm-hmm. and stay in proximity to whiteness. And that's mm-hmm. why. That's where the rewards mm-hmm. are coming from, mm-hmm. right? Now, I'm not giving any excuses or passes. I'm just letting you, like I said, this is a tool in your toolkit, per se, sharpen your sword, so that when you're talking about the way that, FBA have been robbed of the resources that they're due, and how they place non-FBA populations in our face to kind of mock. Here's one of the replacement migration scenarios that they've been enacting since 2000.
And Nigerians get over here and be talking all kind of slimy against FBA. It's so pathetic. It's amazing. It's amazing how the diaspora wars have gotten. And I used to look at them people as my brother at one time, in my ignorance, but not no more. I only got one group of brothers. I only got one group of sisters, until otherwise noted. And that's those I rock out with. That was here, and those that was brought over here in the continental United States of America. Those is my brothers and sisters. Now, it's not to say that I don't have brothers and sisters in the Caribbean. It's not to say that I don't have brothers and sisters in South America. And it's not to say that I don't have brothers and sisters in Akiba land. But right now, I need to, until I see your birth certificate, and if your birth certificate like mine say, oh, your father was a Negro. Oh, your mama was a Negro. Not your father, your dad was a Negro. And your mama was a Negro. We need to start asking people, well, let me see your birth certificate. Because we're closing ranks. Period. Now, if you rock out with us, okay, cool. We'll accept you. But we the exceptional ones on the whole earth. So we need to be discreet and discerning when we accept people into our ranks. So that we don't accept somebody that's going to undermine the cause, if that makes sense. I'm going to let you rock out, sis. Go ahead.
No, I just want to continue to, if you want to go down, right? Like, you guys see this information. I didn't make this information up. I'm pointing you to the information so that your knowledge can increase, right? And you could go down and know that countries have their own reports. Like, I'm sure that the Census Bureau has put out so many reports about domestic migration. I've looked at them. I've also looked at fertility and replacement, types of information that's used in different theories, right? So know that when they're speaking on this subject, they are truly fearful about the lack of replacement and being beyond the replacement rate at this point. We're 26 years after this scenario was ran, okay? And the numbers aren't getting any better. Go ahead, Brother C. Oh, you wanted to say something about this part?
No, I was just scrolling down so that the family could see. We can get off of this and go back to the time.
Well, I want to go all the way down to see if there's a signature page on this one. I know on some of the ones that were not in English, I saw a signature page.
I'm going to go back and look at this. I like looking at down and whatnot in charts.
Listen, it be, look, you could run it through AI and ask for.
Don't tell them what. Don't tell them that. Hey, stop. Don't tell. They go,
Okay.
you gonna get us banned. You
You
trying to
don't
get
get.
us locked out. He said, and then you know what's gonna happen now. You trying to load this in AI. AI gonna say, hey, we can't do it
Yeah, they
because
gonna
you
act like they
Negroes.
couldn't read. They couldn't read that day. AI act like you can't read.
Listen, it'll do that. Now you said to go to the bottom.
Yeah.
This
Are
is the
we at the
bottom of
bottom?
it.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah, this one doesn't have the signature page that I've seen on other ones. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's definitely a very telling document, projections, years, and all of the people involved. So they have mutually agreed to do this thing and
Mhm.
now want to step it back, right?
Yes, yes,
And I
and the
think that
reason,
step back comes from the fear of being taken completely over. Like, I mean,
well,
yeah.
there's a political component to that though, and that's what
Hmm.
we're seeing right now. The outcropping of that is the political side. On the one hand, if you bring migration in, they'll overrun you, so you got to get them back out. And in my mind, I'm thinking they're trying to get it back out so that we can go to the ultimate battle where it's really us against them. Because at some point we are going to have to fight. I don't care what nobody said. There is
And
going to be a fight here on this land, and
absolutely.
somebody going to get swept off.
And so there's a, like, okay, so you know how, like, there's a reparations, we've been talking about the reparations um resolution, and
Mhm.
then the steps, right, the framework. So this is how the UN operates. So
Perfect segue.
there was this
Perfect segue.
UN replacement migration document, and then subsequently a separate academic international labor organization papers discussing how West Africa, localized pattern of replacement migration that's documented in a real world scenario, where they turn to the Nigeria example, as highly skilled Nigerians immigrate to Europe or North America. Migrants from neighboring West African countries move into Nigeria to fill those vacant roles, right? So they have ran this scenario all the way. And then when you
Mhm.
see, like, right now, there's this battle between, I can't remember the name of the group, but it is the battle to kick them out after they have come in as migrants from another part of Africa. Um, they're fighting, literally.
Mhm.
I can't remember. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen it, but I can't. I really truly have seen it, but I can't pull the two names. I don't know if it's Ghana and Nigeria.
Yeah, there's a battle right now over that.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I will remember when it's relevant, but I wanted to show
Okay.
you guys that so you know how to find those documents, and we'll continue to go through different documents just so you have awareness of them. You understand where the problem started, this government policy, and then blaming it on the people,
Yep.
and the mentalities of the people that they incentivize and rewarded, right? And so I want you to realize that when they do that, know that this government, the US in particular, let's talk about the US government in particular, they have studied torture tactics. And I know this is going to make sense in a minute, more than any other government I have seen. Okay. Torture tactics in particular. And one particular torture tactic that they have perfected is control by deprivation. Okay. And if you've never heard of control by deprivation, I want you to look it up. Now, they'll say the CIA mastered it by depriving spies, or those who they believed were spies, of sleep to get information of them.
Mm-mm.
But that's not
Mm-mm.
even,
Mm-mm.
the half of it.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Because with control by deprivation, it is the deliberate withholding of an individual's needs, desires, basic inputs, wants, such as affection, attention, autonomy, physical requirements like housing, clean water, medical, medical quality care. And it's done to manipulate, dominate, or force compliance from them. Now, how does it work? It only works when you allow populations or groups, we'll call it groups, around the controlled by domination to have their needs, wants, desires, basic inputs, autonomy, physical requirements met. I'm going to say that again. It only works to dominate the controlled group if they're watching other groups around them be able to access autonomy, to have their physical requirements met, their needs, to be able to receive attention. Think of media, right? People say, how come our stories don't make it? So control by deprivation, which was is documented CIA tactic, and they're going to say sleep deprivation, but they didn't just use it for that, is exactly the way that they have learned how to dominate and control. Because what is the group that is deprived going to do? They're going to want to try harder to have their needs, desires, and basic inputs, physical, requirements met, right? They're going to continue to pursue autonomy, self-determination. And so I think of it again as Pharaoh in this formula is the more that they oppress them, the more that they multiply and grow. That's a formula. If you don't believe in mathematics, then call it something else. If you don't believe in, chemistry, call it something else. But this is a recognizable method by the enemy. If we continue to deprive them, or if we continue to oppress them, and how does that deprivation, that oppression, benefit the controller? Just think about that. I'm going to say it like this. If we are the oppressed group and they know that we have this blessing of multiplication under oppression, what some people will call innovativeness and creativity, how does it benefit the controller to continue to dominate and control the group that has the blessing of fruitfulness and multiplication even under oppression? But so you can
That's
answer
how
that.
right there is how you know who the book people is right there.
Ain't no other group on earth gonna face the trials and tribulations, the harsh, vile treatment, the torture tactics, oppression, repression and suppression, whatever you want to call it, wickedness that we have faced, and continue to be fruitful, multiply, and be able to make something out of literally nothing.
Let me
Sometimes
ask you something.
the rappers
Where did
call it a
Hitler
dollar
say he
out of
got his
15
torturing
cents.
from?
Who?
Hitler. Where did he say he got his torturing methods and methodologies from?
You're gonna have to answer that, because I actually don't.
He came around. He got that from the snakes on how they treated the so-called African Americans, the so-called Africans that were here and got brought over here. He got them tactics from them.
Yeah, he learned how to maintain control, domination, and power dynamics by I believe it.
Yes.
I believe it.
Yes.
And so you guys are dealing, I want you to know what you're dealing with, right? And they have terms that they study this. I didn't make the term up, control by deprivation. If you put it inside of Google, brother, see, I'm laughing because you say they're God, right?
Man, will you quit asking, telling God to give these people answers to things? Yeah, Google is God. I coined that. Yeah, I coined that years ago. Because you could go ask Google and it'll give you the answer. I mean, just like that liar, the Bible answer, man, he's a liar. But again, I digress. Go ahead, sis.
If you put this inside of the information in Shalom, Yashadik, and Victoria, I see you. If we put this information in, then you're going to see control by deprivation. And if you scroll all the way down, it's going to say on Wikipedia in particular how advertisers and marketers recognize that the group that is controlled the most. Yeah, we'll just go to it. We're going to finish up the UN framework document today. Anyway, so if you put in control by deprivation, is that what you're trying to do, Brother C?
No, I'm not doing that. Give me a second. I need to step away for a second, okay?
Okay, not a problem.
I'm gonna come right back. Give me a
I'm
second.
gonna continue to talk about this. So if you put in, and if you're able to do it, you can look at it right now. If you put in control by deprivation, okay, and you look at the method, you're also going to see where there's an aspect of consumerism included. What they have noticed is that the group that is controlled because of their desire for self-determination and control of their own lives and experiences, they will begin to consume more, purchase more. And so advertisers and marketers um, have monopolized on this idea, right? You know, it's been studied. This is what I'm going to tell you. And it's known. You might not have known. It's not, this is what they didn't teach you in school. This is what they didn't teach you in school. And so the effects of control deprivation, the social effects, I'm going to read it. Research has demonstrated that individuals, this is the Wikipedia version that's on the right, where the guy is bent over in that little image, that individuals that have suffered from control deprivation are more likely to use negative social stereotypes and connotations when making judgments on individuals after having been deprived control. When subjects were asked to describe an individual, the subject was more likely to use negative social stereotypes when describing certain people and jobs that can be considered of lower socioeconomic class jobs. In a set of studies, subjects were asked to describe a comedian and an archivist. One set of people were subject to a scenario where they were control deprived, this treatment group. We're more likely to describe the archivist in a negative manner relative to the control group. This causes particular issues through racial stereotyping. Okay? They've studied this thing to a T, y'all. And so, as well as social class effects, studies have highlighted how institutionalized stereotypes within social classes may be exaggerated through lack of control. So the people that are being deprived to be controlled are the ones that are exaggerating some of the stereotypes about themselves even. So I want you to see how people mess with your mind through different tactics. And this is a documented CIA torture tactic. Now, I'm not saying that you're imagining the oppression by far, but I just want you to really think about what is the reality and what has been, put in you by various tactics. And the U.S. is really, really good. Like my brother brought up, even Hitler looked at the U.S. as torture tactics to copy some. Is really good at the psychological aspects of controlling behavior. You might not believe it, but if you start to study what they are studying, you'll see that it's all documented, these control groups. Now, and then it goes on to say about information processing. You can look at that, but you could also look at the product acquisition. So I'm going to go ahead and read this while my brother had to step away. People more strongly linked to situations where they're able to feel stronger connected and influenced. These feelings are compounded when people are suffering from control deprivation. In line with the compensatory control theory, individuals will resort to a wide range of strategies to regain control. Okay, this is in the Wikipedia one. These strategies do not have to be linked to the source of the control deprivation. Individuals will aim to complete different unrelated tasks. It's on the right at the bottom where the guy picture is bending down. Is what I'm reading off of. These individuals will aim to complete different or unrelated tasks that it's under, and we'll finish this up after this one. Product acquisition. Okay, you see it after right there. I'm about midway. Let me see. Individuals will aim to complete different tasks. me see, that's sentence, probably like sentence 2 or 3. Or unrelated tasks that the individual is able to gain control over. A study, remember I told you they're going to study you, they're going to study you in life and in death. Look at what they're doing with Henrietta Lacks case, cells. Her family can't even control the information or the cells. A study where subjects were asked to complete simple, meaningless tasks of deciphering a stimuli when visual noise allowed the subjects to regain control through completing simple tasks that give a reliable and desired outcome that reaffirms a level of control that was previously missing. This is hypothesized to be effective in restoring mental strength as it provides evidence to the individual that they are able to influence the world around them and that they do have an intrinsic level of control and belonging. As a direct result, individuals are more likely to purchase and consume products that link to their intrinsic need for control. Now, you tell me that the capitalist society has not studied our consumer behavior and linked it back to control by deprivation. I just want y'all to see that, right? Brother, see you there? Okay, so this is something that I just wanted to bring out. Again, you guys are going to have to go read it. I can't read the whole document today, but go read some of it for yourself. It's advertising companies. This shows how advertisers and advertisings will aim to capture these elements to appeal to their market. All right. And so, again, you should be reading through the frameworks information that we dropped into the chat. I'm only able to cover so much. We left off on the framework for shared values and principles. I want you guys to go back and look at the previous videos with regards to reparations. Go to the boldauthority.com. You could just scroll down and they can show the people how much more they on that one. Yeah. So we left off, and we're going to end this because I've already went over time.
And I got the bogus one up, by the way. I didn't even bring up the right one.
It's okay. I want to encourage you guys to review and read this on your own. I've shown you how to go through a document. This is why I bring documents up and discuss them as we go along, right? Now I want you to go through the document and see what's being said, because they'll throw us into all kind of stuff without us even knowing. And there's some people that just go along to get along, but we're not them. Okay? That's why we're calling out the lies. Making the formal declaration that one way or another, you're going to let my people go. It don't matter if you like it or not. You ain't got to agree. Right? And putting our formal opposition in writing. To say you tried to maneuver another codified binding, but it's not going to work. Time's up. So if you haven't visited the website, theboldauthority.com, but I want you guys to think about, after what we just went through about the replacement migration and the policies and incentives, what makes Ghana believe that they can come out, even though they haven't even paid reparations, and represent us in this matter, right? You see the mentality. How did they, get the French government to go along to get along, right? The Vatican being in proximity. Is it because those are their incentivizers? So we know that the African Union doesn't represent us in this issue, and they haven't reparated for the monies that they received for their involvement. And it's hypocrisy for them to then stand up and say, we want justice, and not even, consider the justice for the people that were harmed. What are they requesting justice for? So this is our pushback. Take some time to go through the site. And with that being said, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Brother C. I'm sorry to keep you all over time, but I want you to share this information out, because the platform ain't going to do it, but the Father going to create the algorithm to do what it need to do.
Yes, 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 yes. I appreciate you, sis. I want to say what's up to Yash. Yash, hey brother, it was good. It's good seeing you. I can't. I'm looking at the chat, the comment section that I have in the background, and it's not. You're not showing up anywhere on there for some odd reason. So when she said Yash, I went to the actual live stream to see if that was you, and it was you. So I'm saying shalom to you, brother. Hope you're doing well, and hope the Father has been keeping you as usual. Love you, and hope you're doing great. Sister, I appreciate you and the commentary. And like I've been saying, take this information and share it with your family so that you can empower yourself. It's not to empower Salt of the Earth, because Salt of the Earth Productions has been empowered. We've been empowered, and we will always be empowered. And so it's not about us getting views, although they have distilled our numbers down to a trickle and our viewership down to a trickle, because the algorithm has said our people would rather see train wrecks, and our minds, the minds of our people, would rather see train wrecks versus getting information and knowledge that's going to help you build the kingdom. You had Dr. Christopher earlier, one of our elders, say, "Hey, the kingdom is within you." Y'all done heard me quote that phrase all the time. If the kingdom is within you, well, why are you looking outside of yourself? If the kingdom is in Yash and Sister Christina and Dr. Gary Christopher, my brother Elisha, my brother Najid, and my brother Karab, if the kingdom is within those people, why do I need to look to the white man to build the kingdom? Why do I need to look at the Indian? I got to look in the mirror, look at myself, then look at those people who name I just called to say, hey, what can we build together? Because anything that we build is kingdom work. Kingdom work ain't just jumping on YouTube. Kingdom work ain't doing what Creflo Dollar and TD Snakes is doing and that liar Joel Osteen. That's not kingdom work. That's the broad gate that leads to destruction. Point blank. Christianity is the broad gate that leads to destruction.
But brother, see, you know what? We're over here all giving you a gift of information and knowledge. We ain't asked for nothing,
man,
but it's to be shared.
You getting laced up with billions of dollars a game off of this channel. I'm on record of saying that. If you go through our catalog, you'll get $1 billion worth of game. And the algorithm got us so pressed that, hey, no, we don't want what these niggers are saying getting out. Because if they do, they're gonna change the hearts and minds of men and women. Point blank. And I know that's one of the reasons why we ain't here to be no camp. We could have been a camp decades ago. We done seen camps where we from fire up, and we had communications. Well, not congregations, because I love my camp brothers. But I say all that to say, we're not your normal Bible study. We're not your typical Israelites. The game that you get off of here, you're not going to get nowhere else. I know that. And so the game that you're seeing about reparations, I guarantee you this. If we don't get picked up in the algorithm, some nigger or nigress, or I'll say how the white man said, some nigger or niggeress is going to pick the information up 5 years from now, and they're going to be quoting the same stuff that we quoting right now. Meanwhile, we're going to be on some other plane. I guaranteed you that. Because we done already had people come in and watch what we was putting down, and then they go to their major channel and give a little bit of snippet of the game, but don't even give the people a solution. Most people don't even know that the UN is a front for do what you do as thou will. The UN is a front for these nations to do as thou will. If they want to pick up what the UN charters are putting down, they can. If they don't, they give the UN charter the middle finger and keep it pushing. Point blank. So I'm going to end on that. Unless you got something else to say, sis, something else to add. Dr. Christopher, it was great seeing you on again, and appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
I don't have anything else to say except for recognize that you are being given information, and that has a time window too. That has a time window too, right? Right now, knowledge is increasing. Act upon it.
Yes.
Act upon it.
Yes, you better act upon it and build something. Build something that the Father put in you to build, and you know what it is. And this has been another Salt of the Earth production.